Tetzaveh, Mimer 1. ואתה, Tetzaveh, es bnei ישראל, ויקחו אליך מחוץ לפרחס אשר עלו des ירחס יערן. We need to understand something. The actual mitzvah of arranging the lamps is given to Aaron, Yarachas Yaren. So why does Hashem first say, V'ikhu Eilicha, that they should bring the oil to Moshe? And also in the first pasuk it says, Lahalas ner tamid, an eternal flame, while the second pasuk about Aaron it only says, Me'erev ad Beiker. Why the difference? The explanation is this. Aaron is called Sheshivina de Matronisa. The Matronisa is the source of the souls of all Yisrael. All the Yidden are rooted there. Aaron acts as their sheshvina, like a best man escorting a bride, just as a bride and groom need attendants to walk with them because they are overwhelmed and cannot stand alone at the moment. So too the souls of Yisrael cannot on their own rise and be included in their source in the infinite light in Seif Baruch Hu. They need Aaron. He is the one who brings them in. But a sheshvina is only needed at the wedding itself. Afterward, the couple stands on their own. So too Aaron's role as sheshvina applies on B'yem Chasanasei or B'yem Simchas Libe, a revelation of supernal joy that shines into the soul of Yisrael so they can serve Hashem with joy. As it says, Tachas Shalei Vadata B'simcha. This joy comes through Aaron. And what is this joy? It is the joy that comes from the revelation of Aaron, Seif Baruch Hu, the source of life, the source of all delights invested within the mitzvahs. The word Asher, as an Asher Kedishanu, is a language of immense delight and praise, like Be'asher ki yeshurni banis, in overwhelming happiness. It says, V'nicheu b'ganeden l'avdil l'shamna. L'avdil refers to positive mitzvahs. Through mitzvahs, a person actually makes Gan Eden, meaning he draws down the radiance of the Shekhinah there for the righteous to delight in Hashem, and that light is beyond measure. That is why the Chacham said about Acher that it would be worthwhile for him to endure judgment in order to receive the pleasures of the world to come. All the suffering of Gehenna would be worth it for that one experience of divine delight. Rabbi Akiva once saw a great city of idol worshippers and laughed. He said, if those who transgress his will receive so much pleasure in this world, pleasures that descended and became grossly material, not through the orderly chain of holiness, but fallen from lofty levels, then how much more so will those who fulfill his will receive delight in its proper holy order in Gan Eden. Those are called Eved Tzene, those who passed over the path. Their pleasures are fallen fragments, but for Eved Tzene, those who do his will, the light is drawn down in the proper Seder Rishtashlos in Gan Eden above and below. It is delight in Havaya himself, endless kinds of delight, because he is the source of life and the source of pleasure. And this pleasure comes from the mitzvahs. That is why mitzvahs are compared to lamps. When you light a lamp, the house fills with light and radiance. So too, through mitzvahs, radiance fills Gan Eden. Therefore, it says, Tachas ashalei avadatas Hashem lekacha b'simcha v'tov levav. Made of kol. Made of kol, even more than Reiv kol, which refers to the delights of the world to come. The joy in mitzvahs must surpass even that. When a person reflects that the praise of heaven above, Gan Eden Elyon, and earth below, Gan Eden Tachton, is only the praise of his handiwork, just as praising a person's artwork does not touch his essence, so all the praise and delight in Gan Eden are only in the radiance drawn from his Maaseh Yod of the mitzvahs. Through a Sursus L'Desata below, fulfilling mitzvahs. There is a Sursus L'Eila above. Hashem puts on tefillin, he heals the sick, he blesses the years, he sustains life with kindness. From this flows the radiance of Gan Eden, where souls delight in their comprehension of that divine flow. There are endless levels, ascent upon ascent, countless Gan Edens like the 50,000 Gavels spoken of in the writings. All of that, however, is only the radiance drawn from his actions. But in the essence, Ein Seif Baruch Hu himself, Leis Machshavat Visabei Klal, even angels cry Kaddish separate, and Ifanim roar, I am a king Kvede. Yet the mitzvahs themselves are the flame. They are the very limbs of the king, Evadim de Malka, vessels for the infinite light itself. That is why it says Lefnei Hashem regarding mitzvahs, before Hashem literally, and Anochi Sher Nechim Tzav Chayim, its very essence commands you in the time of Hayim La'asaisim, it is very self-invested in the mitzvah. Therefore, the joy in performing mitzvahs must be greater than all delights, greater than Reiv Kel, because in the mitzvah itself is the infinite light mamish. That is called the Acha B'Shmaya Ba'ada, as our sages say, Yafashu Achas, 1 hour of mitzvahs in this world surpasses it all. In order for this joy, this revelation of Aaron Seif Baruch Hu to actually shine in a person's soul, it comes to Aaron. He is the one who lights the lamps, drawing down Erev V'Simcha. Aaron is one of the Shivarayim, the shepherds who nourish and sustain all the souls of Yisrael from above, from Ein Seif Baruch Hu. Through Aaron, there are two movements, Yarech es Hanedis and Uvahalas Haran es Hanedis. Yarech means arranging, that the light should be set, ordered, and guarded within the heart and soul. A person remembers Hashem in depth of knowledge, b'yamkei hadas, from the depths of the heart, with real effort and contemplation of Hashem's greatness, as much as his soul can bear. But b'haloischa is something higher. That is the drawing down of joy from above, a light that lifts the soul upwards and binds it to Elokim Chayim, the source of life and pleasure, far beyond the chain of worlds, beyond what the soul could generate on its own. This is the love of B'chol Me'edecha revealed in Krishma. And in order to reach that level of in Shema, Chazal instituted Psukei D'Zimra beforehand, that Rebbe Muskel B'Greinam V'Cheret B'Fias B'Yadam, because Shas Tloitzot Shlas Krava, time of prayer is the time of battle. A person must first strengthen his soul against all that blocks and distracts inside and out. That's why it says, Me'erev ve'ad boker, first darkness, b'reisha chashecha, and only afterwards light. The joy comes gradually emerging from within the darkness. But Aaron lights the lamp specifically with shemen zayis kosis. The Mishnah says the olive is crushed. The first oil is for the menorah. And the olive is bitter. The dove said, and the Gemara says that olives cause one to forget 70 years of learning. They come from the realm of forgetfulness, from the side of klippas. That is the body and the animal soul. Mashka de. But when you crush the olive, oil comes out, which represents chachma. Chazal say just as olives cause forgetting, olive oil restores 70 years of learning, because chachma is the faculty of memory. The crushing is hiskafya sitra achra, subduing the other side, is when a person makes himself like leftovers, like something insignificant, when he sees himself as unnecessary in the world, as if he has no claim to it. Then what does he need from this world or even from the next? As it says, Mili b'shamayim, and v'ya she'edis Yaakov. When one becomes she'edis, then tarim yod chal tzarecha. That humility empowers him to raise himself above all opposition. But when a person stands as a yesh, a self, then Ein Seif does not dwell where there is ego. Only in bittul does the infinite dwell. That is the oil, chachma, born from crushing the olive. Oil burns completely. It leaves nothing behind. The wick leaves ash. Oil is total bittul, consumed in the flame. So to chachma is self-nullification in the light of the mitzvah, allowing gili ein seif to rest upon the soul. Without oil, the wick burns quickly and is gone. Without bittul, the light does not endure. Now this avodah of Aaron, arranging and uplifting the lamp, takes place mechutz laparechas oedas. What is the parechas? It separates. The name Havaya represents Yechida Ilah, absolute oneness. We are Kula Kameh Kula Chashiv. The name Elikim conceals, allowing the world to appear as something independent. Yet even so, Malay Kalar's Kavede Yuchida Tata. Elikim is a shield, a muggin, like a shield placed before the sun, so its light can be endured. That is the meaning of V'havdila parechas l'chem ben hakodesh. The menorah's lighting happens outside the curtain, in the realm of Yechida Tata. From there, the heart runs upward to Yechida Ilah. That running, that ratzai, is the joy of mitzvah, the yearning of a b'chol ma'edecha. But where does Aaron get the power to lift the soul like this? It says, Chukas eilam u'deresecha me'ez b'nei Yisrael. Me'ez, from the letters of Torah, from Aleph to Taf. When a person studies Torah and invests his mind and heart in the holy letters, those letters are rooted in Chacham Ilah. Torah is light, Torah Ohr. The mitzvah is the lamp. Torah is the light and vitality within it. Through Torah, Aaron can act as sheshvinin, drawing revelation and joy into the soul. Without Chacham, Chazal say, V'lo yama ad chassid. Torah must first be drawn down, and that comes through Moshe. As there says, and my yisrin la'adam b'chal ha'molah sheyama tachas ha'shamash, Torah is above the sun. That is Moshe's level. Moshe is kvad peh, kvad lashon. Torah study is not primarily the fiery ratzei of prayer. It is shuv le'echad. Through Torah, Hashem's unity is revealed below just as above. The words of Torah are literally his words. Masnisa malkasa. The Mishnah is like the king himself. When one rules in halacha, that ruling is as if spoken by Hashem. That is the level of one whose teirasai u'manasai, like Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, who said, "Bechad katira is katana." They are exempt from prayer because Torah itself accomplishes the same drawing down. Therefore, v'talmud Torah keneged kulam. But to reach that bittul in Torah, it says, "V'yikhu elach Hashem zayisach." First, pure oil, chachma, ezu chacham hareyas nolad, seeing how the world is born from nothing at every moment. Creation is constant. The existence of the world is only a passing radiance. When a person reflects on that, he becomes nullified. His own ruach draws down the ruach of ein sof in Torah study. That is, ואתה Tetzaveh. Tetzaveh means connection. Tzavsa, through ויקחו אליך Hashem as Isaac to Moshe first, Torah flows to Israel, and from there it becomes the letters of Torah empower Aaron to arrange the lamps to draw joy into the mitzvahs. Now notice the difference. In Aaron's realm, it says me'erevat baker, first darkness, then light. But in Moshe's realm, shov le'achad, a revelation of Yehuda Ilah, it says lahalis ner tamid, a constant flame beyond time. Before him, there is no difference between darkness and light. It is absolute oneness always. Mimer 2. ועשית בגדי קדש לאהרן אחיך ואתה תדבר אל כל חכמי אליו אשר מלאתיו רוח חכמה ועשו as בגדי אהרן לקדשו ועשו בגדי קדש לאהרן אחיך ולבניו. There are three expressions of making the garments. Moshe, the Chachmei Lev, and then simply ועשו, which implies Klal Yisrael. What are these three levels in the Bigdi Aaron? Aaron is one of the Shiva Royim, the shepherds who draw down and sustain all the souls of Yisrael from Ein Sof Baruch Hu. He is Ish Chesed, the Kohen Gadol who draws down Av Rabbah. The garments of Aaron are the garments of that love. It says Yamim Yutzaru, the days are garments. The Zohar explains on Vavram Zaken Baba Yamim that the Yamim are the Yomin Eloyin de Inon Levushin. Every soul has garments made from Torah and mitzvahs. The Kavana and Rusa the Liba of the mitzvahs form garments in Gan Eden Helyon. Simple performance of mitzvahs form garments in Gan Eden Atachten. And the fixed number of days allotted to a person corresponds to the number of garments his soul must form from Torah and mitzvahs done day by day. Now Avram is also one of the Shiva Rayim. He too draws love into all the souls of Israel, as it says, Avram Oyavi. But what is the difference between Avram's love and Aaron's love? The Zohar says, Is chesed ve'is chesed. Is chesed ikri chesed olam ve'is chesed ikri v'rav chesed. There's chesed olam, there's v'rav chesed. We know the rule. Be'siruset l'sata, siruset l'ela. That with a siruset l'sata, there comes a siruset l'ela. But even before our awakening from below, there was already an awakening from above, so that a Jew can awaken at all. Otherwise, he would remain asleep in the vanities of the world, which human nature is drawn after. That initial awakening is chesed olam. V'chesed Hashem be'elam ad olam, chasdei Hashem olam ashira. This is the level of Avram, who became a merkava for that chesed. It is the natural love embedded in every Jewish soul, only it is hidden beneath the sackcloth garment of the body and the animal soul. This awakening from above stirs that hidden love until it yearns to burst free from its coverings, to cleave to Hashem, to cry out to Him from the depths of the heart. This is the love that emerges naturally once uncovered. But when there is Isirus L'Sata, when a person himself awakens love upward, then the response from above is not merely Chesed Olam, but V'rav Chesed. That is Aaron the Kohen Gadol, and this level is far beyond Chesed Olam. Chesed Olam belongs to the order of Ashtalshlos, cause and effect. In that system, every level has some relation to its source. For example, intellect gives birth to emotions. Emotions enter thought. Thought enters speech. Each lower level reflects the higher one in some proportion, but V'rav Chesed is beyond the chain entirely. It is the drawing down of Ein Sof itself into Chachma and Chesed. It is the very emergence of Chachma from nothing. Chachma me'ayin timatzi. There is no comparison at all. As it says in Tikkun Zohar, Lav de islach tzedek yediyah v'lav mikol midas. Even from Chachma he is infinitely exalted, as it says, Kulam b'Chachma asisa. Chachma itself is already like Asiyah compared to him. So how does this infinite Or become clothed in Chachma and Chesed? It says, the oil flows from the head down to the beard of Aaron. The beard represents sidus, hairs. Hair is a muscle. The hair grows from the brain, but it is only surplus vitality. If you cut the hair, the brain feels no pain. The hairs are hollow conduits that draw only a faint diminished flow from the meichen. They have no real proportion to the brain itself. So too, the revelation of Ein Sof into Chachma and Chesed is like a flow through sidus, a massively contracted glimmer. It comes from a place utterly beyond all attributes, the lav mikol midas, and passes through countless tzimtzumim to allow the emergence of Chachma at all. There's another mashal for this. The teacher explaining a deep idea to a student. The letters and words the teacher uses are not the essence of the idea. He could use different words. The letters are like hairs, conduits. The essential intellect is far above the letters, but it must pass through them so that the student can receive anything at all. So too, the emergence of Chachma from Ein Sof is through infinite contractions, like hair is channeling surplus light. And what draws down this tremendous love of Chesed? When the love from below rises upward, it elicits a supernal love in response. That means that even the name Havaya, which itself represents contraction and expansion, is drawn into relationship. Why? Because love presses beyond boundaries. And through this Esirus Lesata, when a person truly awakens from below, he not only arouses something above, but also draws that very revelation into his own soul. Because the Esirus de La'ila comes from Aaron, who was one of the Shivirayim, the shepherd who feeds and draws revelation into Knesset Yisrael, which is the root of all Jewish souls. Aaron is the same letters as Nira, as it says, Ayin ba'ayin Nira. It is a level of revelation of sight, meaning that this supernal awakening becomes revealed in the soul with palpable feeling, like sensory vision. And then the light of Avad Abba from above is drawn down upon him. That is, V'yahavta es Hashem lekecha, and Chazal explain, Sheyeh Shem Shemayim misahiv, meaning that V'yahavta is a verb that affects a third party. You cause the supernal love, Ahavti Eschem, to become revealed. That Havaya should become a lekecha, your God, personally revealed to you. How? Through contemplation in Hashem Echad, that He is the one in Ches and Dal of the seven heavens and the earth and the four directions, that His unity fills and pervades them, unifying and encompassing them. And likewise, on all the supernal levels above, there are also seven heavens and earth, corresponding to L'cha Hashem Agdula V'Gvura, the attributes of heaven, fire, and water, and L'cha Havaya HaMamlacha, which is earth. All of them are L'cha Hashem, utterly nullified before Him, because Nizkav Shemel Avadeh, only His radiance extends upon heaven and earth. And Ed Kadmul Shemayim, meaning that the lower levels are first in eliciting this unity, and the cause of this unification is Havaya Elokeinu, that Yisrael unifies His name and draws down His unity below. The revelation of Ein Sof in the worlds depends on the awakening from below, as it says in Tikkun Yisrael, Lav de Islach Tadikidia, El Lachazak, from Avdeha and Debnei Nasha. The divine attributes are not inherent limitations, but are revealed to show how the world is governed. And this revelation, this emergence from the hidden, the Lav Mikol Midas, depends on human deeds. When a person thinks deeply on all this and places it upon his heart, then Shem Shamayim Misayev, the supernal love becomes revealed in him in a way of sight that the heart itself sees. But this revelation requires with both inclinations, that even the Yetzer Hara be subdued, so that he has only one heart directed to his Father in heaven, as it says, and as Chazal say, nullify your will, so that you are not split between two directions. When a person constricts himself, casts aside his ego and physical desires, and directs his Ruach Neshama towards him, then Kamayim Apanim, the supernal love responds. That love, the Chekas as a basar, presses through countless contractions to sign Ein Sof into his soul openly with a powerful and overwhelming flow until he reaches a B'chol Meidacha, a love beyond measure, beyond what a soul can contain, and utter self-nullification. Because Aaron is Sheshvina Dematonisa, the one who elevates and raises Jewish souls to the highest heights, as it says, Elam Asabi Ad Moshe Aaron, and who Aaron Moshe Asher Amar Hashem Lahem Hitziu Es Bnei Yisrael Mi'aretz Mitzrayim Al Tevoisam, meaning above their armies, above their the root of their souls. But in order for this love to be revealed, it must have a keli and lavush to dwell, and there is no light without a vessel. That is midaisav. The kan Aaron shi'er lapim midaisav also. Midaisav also means midai bad. These garments are Torah and mitzvahs, which are the garments for this love. Since the love comes from the lad mikol midas, beyond all intellect, it cannot be grasped in the framework of created wisdom. It must clothe itself in Torah and mitzvahs, which are His will and wisdom. And chakam b'lei b'chakam. This is why it says, the revelation of Anichi, who I am, and my essence, comes specifically through Hadvaram Ha'ila, and therefore V'dibarta means drawing down and conducting, like Yad Bet Amim. The revelation of love must be drawn specifically into the garments of Torah, not into other wisdoms. All other wisdoms are Milan Dehedyeta compared to Him. Only Torah is Loi B'chachma Yediyah, beyond created intellect, through learning Torah below, which is truly His wisdom, one draws down the supernal love, revealing Chachma, revealing Ein Sof and Chachma. This is learning Torah Lishma for the sake of Torah, to reveal Ein Sof within Chachma, because Araisa Chachma Nafkas, and just as there must be revelation in Chachma, there must also be revelation in Midas and Chesed, which is Reishis Abinyan, as it says, Ki Amarta Elam Chesed Yiboneh, that revelation comes through mitzvahs, whose general name is Tzedakah V'Chesed. In detail, they divide into Ramach mitzvahs, Ramach Yivarim Malka, through which the light of Ein Sof is drawn into Chesed above. That is Derech Hashem, B'Shama Derech Hashem Las Tzedakah. Derech Hashem means the drawing of Havaya from concealment into revelation, like a road connecting one city to another. Through Tzedakah, the attribute of Chesed is built and revealed. As it says, V'tzedakah b'yankiv ata osisa, that the revelation of Tzedakah comes through Yisrael. Al tikri banecha ela baneich ela baneich, they are the builders. Through them, the structure of Chesed is built. As it says, Olam chesedi bane, that is why Knesset Yisrael is called Yonosi Samasi, my dove, my perfect one, because she completes me, so to speak, making me whole. Meaning through the Ramach Mitzvahs, the Ramach Yevarim are revealed. And now in the tikkun and making of these levushim, these garments of love, Torah and Mitzvahs, there are 3 levels and 3 madregas. The first madrega is that of Moshe. Moshe is called so because Kimin Amayim Mishisiu, he was drawn from the water. Mishisiu means drawn from concealment into revelation. He draws from the hidden level that is above Ishtashlos, from the Mayim, the source of Torah. All of Torah is like a bucket drawn from the sea being that hidden infinite source, and the bucket being the Chavdalad Sifrei Deraisa. As it says, V'tamalikadu Vatal, she filled her pitcher and ascended. This level of Lavush corresponds to what Chazal say, that Torah is called Kala and Meirasha Kilas Yankiv. Yisrael are the Chassan, the ones who influence and draw down. They draw Aaron Seif into Chachma. They are the ones who learn Torah Lishma for the sake of Torah itself, meaning that through them the very existence of Torah is made manifest. And similarly, with mitzvahs it says, the human being is the one who draws them down and makes them. He causes the mitzvah to become an active revelation. Now this helps us understand the idea of birchas ha-mitzvahs. It is like the blessing of a wedding. As the Zayar says, Leis birchas sharia ela ba'asar d'tchad v'nukva. Blessing only rests when there is a male and female, giver and receiver. When there is a mashpia and a makabel, there is drawn down a tremendous additional flow from a place far higher than either one individually. As it says, Zachar and Nekeva b'ram b'yavarach esam, the blessing flows from a place above both. This bracha, this added flow, comes from the level of Moshe, from above Hishtashlos. That is why the day the Mishkan was erected, it says, V'yaviu es ha-Mishkan al Moshe, and he said, V'hinayim, he drew down the supernal blessing. That is the concept of Birchas HaMitzvahs, Baruch Melech Olam, that there should be an added abundant flow from world to world. The ultimate goal of the blessing is the revelation of his Malchus. Malchus kol ilamim. Malchus is itself called Lavush, as it says, Hashem Melech Ge'ez Lavush, Hashem Mordechai Yatzim Lifnei HaMelech B'Lavush Malchus. His Malchus is the garment for his Ratzin, Chachma, and Midas. And through Bracha there is a great increase of revelation from far above the regular order of Ishtashlos. This is what Bracha means, addition and increase. This is the first Madrega at the level of Moshe. The second Madrega is making the garments by the Chachmei Lev. They are called Chachmei Lev because they have only one heart, completely unified in bittul. They are in the level of Chachma, someone who has 2 hearts, divided loyalties. About him it says, a person only sins when a Ruach Shtus enters him, meaning that Chachma departs. But one who has a single heart, about him it says, Ruach Chachma, he draws down Ruach Chachma from above through his as a Chacham Lev. Therefore it says, V'asú is Bigdi Aaron Lakadsheh. They also make garments for Aaron in the level of Kaddish Elyon through drawing down his Chachma and Ratzon, because they are completely bottled, they become a Merkava. That is the second Madrega. The third Madrega is V'asú Stam, referring to Klal Yisrael. By them, it does not say Lekadsheh, only Lechaneli. This is the simple performance of mitzvahs from the hidden natural love alone, Ava Hatevis Misuteres. Even so, they too draw down a supernal garment for this love, specifically the garment of Malchus, as it says, Same Tassim Lechem Melech, accepting El Malchus Shemaim in completeness of heart and soul, and not Seifim B'Tchilasan. The end is rooted in the beginning, so that even this lower level draws from the supernal bracha. About this it says, Ish Asher Keberchase, each one according to his blessing, and through this the supernal midas are drawn down to them as well. That is why it says, the higher colors, the supernal lights, drawn down through these 3 levels of garment making. Mimer 3. V'asisa Tetzaveh Summary, Ptachta Alav Ptוחי Chosem Kedesh Lashem Kedesh Lamed Lamata V'Havai Lamayla. The Chacham point out that the words were engraved Kedesh Lashem, the Hashem, the name above, and Kedesh below. We need to understand that. Also, what it means, V'Hoya Al Metzach Aaron V'Nasa Aaron Es Avoyin HaKodshim, that the tzitz atones and carries away iniquity. At the end of the pasuk, from the very fact that it rests on the forehead, Ratzon is drawn down. What is this Indian? Tzitz comes from Meitzitz Menacharakim, Yotzitz Nizrei, Neitz hachama. It means shining forth, a glimmer, an illumination. It is the Ohr of Avad that comes from above. This is Zakan Zakan Aaron. Aaron Zakan Aaron. She yeded al pimi deisav. It's one of the Aaron is one of the Shiva Rayim who draws down the flow of Ein Sof into Klal Yisrael, and specifically he draws down Avad Rabba. True, hakol b'dei shemayim chutz miyid shemayim, but there are different kinds of love. There is an ava that is born from das, from the person's own understanding. It is within the power of the soul itself, and then there is the ava rabba, the das that is above das, the ava rabba above das. That is Aaron's drawing, Rosat Liba, the deep will of the heart. That is why it says le'ahava Hashem lekechem, not lehiv but le'ahava, to bring love down, to draw the supernal love into oneself, so that the heart desires only Him, to cleave to Ein Sof mamish mila b'shamayim. Even heaven, even Gan Eden, the Elyon is nothing. Atahu kaim shnivra olam ani Hashem l'shnisi kulika mekal achashiv. Before and after creation, it's all the same before Him. On this love, it says meitis menacharakim, because He neza eimedachak aslenu. Since the Churban, there was a wall, a mechitas shel barzel between Yisrael and their Father in heaven. Not that anything blocks them. The blockages from our side. The sins block the Ohr of that supernal love from reaching us. And still He peers through the cracks. Meitis menacharakim. Chalonis are larger openings. Charakim are small cracks. When a person breaks the wall even a little through Lev Nishbar, through Hudhudei Tshuva, each one, according to his measure, cracks open and the light shines through. The main curtain, the main obstruction is Rishis Goyim Amalek. Amalek is the head of the 7 nations. Even now, when there is no physical war with Amalek, spiritually there is. Amalek is gasas haruach, brazenness, arrogance, haughtiness, in tagbia kanesher. From that comes bad midas. Inside, stubbornness, ego, the need to win. Outside, chasing honor, clothing oneself in pride, seeking grandeur. For this reason, the big tikkunim were made to transform that drive for self-glory into holy garments, to turn Yeshus into avodah, to flip Amalek into kedusha. Look at Amalek in the days of Moshe. Yisrael did not come to fight him. They were not even thinking about him. He came on his own, stirred up a senseless war because he could not bear their greatness, the miracles, the elevation. He could not tolerate that there should be something greater than himself. That is Amalek in every person, the inability to bear that someone else is greater, or at least not to be small. On this it says, Case Yudke. The name is incomplete. The throne is incomplete. Kisei is the place where the king rests. With the Kisei Aleph, the Aleph dwells. Remove the Aleph and it becomes Case. With the Aleph, Kisei, the Aleph dwells. Remove the Aleph and it becomes Case without an Aleph. Incomplete. But what is concealed? Yudke. Every Jew carries Yudke within him. The Hey is expansion, length and breadth, the spreading of divine light. Seviv kalam and Malik kalam. The Yud is contraction. Yoshus chayshich sistrate. Before there can be a revelation, there must be symptom, like the small drop compared to an endless ocean, infinitely less. First contraction, then expansion. Even the shape of the letters, the Hey begins with a Yud, then spreads outward. This power is within every person to contemplate the greatness of Ein Sof, how He fills all worlds and surrounds all worlds, and even that is but a symptom. From that to come to love, to cleave to Him, to draw down Vavke from Yudke, to complete the name. But Amalek is Case Yudke, he covers over the Yudke so that it never becomes Vavke. The contemplation may be there, the mind may understand, but the heart remains unmoved, the love does not ignite, a wall stands, and the light does not pass through. And the Eitzah, the advice for this, it says, in the war against Amalek, Lanu specifically, because to conquer Amalek, you need Anshe Moshe. The power required is the quality of Moshe, V'nachnu ma, absolute bittul and total inclusion in Ein Sof Baruch Hu. The whole Torah is called on His name, Torah Tetzaveh Lanu Moshe, meaning that all Torah and all of Avodah must be in the mode of Moshe. As Chazal say, it must be Torah's Moshe, Torah learned with complete bittul to Ein Sof Baruch Hu. That is the meaning of Alois, not to create an empty space, not to push away the Shechina, as in the expression, rather one must live with Atahu actually He is literally the same without any change. Just as before the creation He filled everything, including the very space in which the world would later be created, so too now. How can that be? If the world conceals, the answer is through Torah. The Reise b'chachma afkas and Havai b'chachma yas the aret. In chachma dwells in Sof Baruch Hu, because chachma itself is kayachma bittel. So when a person learns Torah, every halacha, every agada contains within it that chachma in which Ein Sof is vested. At that moment, he himself is in a state of bittel to his wisdom. Nothing conceals because he is not experiencing himself as a separate yesh. It is his wisdom, battle to him, and it is movade. That is the awesome devade beficha. My word is literally in your mouth in a previous way, and of a til yodik sesicha, that is the Ein Sof that is the makifim. Ein Sof rests and is revealed in him both internally and in an encompassing way. Through this, he conquers Amalek, which is the yesh, the selfhood. This bittul is the opposite of yesh, and it breaks the iron wall that blocks the light. This is v'yasisa tzitz. It refers to Moshe. He is the one who makes the tzitz, that yotzitz is the shining of Avarabba, which is meitis min acharakim, shining through cracks and openings. These cracks are created by breaking the wall by Hidhuri Tshuva, born from the bittul of Anshe Moshe, as in Bachar Lanu. The tzitz is zohav ter. Gold has an advantage over silver. Both are love. Liya kasav zav, but silver is a cooler love, whereas gold is ish be'esh, fiery love. Ufitachta alav ptухי חותם. These are the letters of Torah because chesmei shalakadish baruch hu emes and in emes ala Torah. It is called a chesam, like letters engraved in wax, not the same as the letters in thought or speech, yet still the very same letters, only materialized. So too, the Torah before us, clothed in physical matters, is like that of a chesam. As it says, B'tzalmenu kidmuseinu, referring to Torah Sheba'al Peh, which is a dmus and dimion, like an imprint. Even so, its root is in Hadadei Kodesh and Chachmei, present in every halacha. Through this, Kodesh Elyon is drawn down in Torah and mitzvahs. Torah has previous mitzvahs, as Levushin and Makifim, as in Ashekah L'Shana b'mitzvahs. This is the meaning of Kodesh L'Hashem, as Chazal say, Kodesh Lamed L'Mata Havaya L'Mayla. The level called Kodesh is still below the level of Havaya. There are two levels of Havaya. It says V'yaver Havaya Alpana V'yikra Havaya Havaya, with a pause between them. One Havaya is the level that brings existence into being Ma'ayan Liyash, according to his will, but there is a higher source and root for that will itself, the first Havaya, which is the Ratzon for the second Havaya. It is called Raivid Deraiv, the will of all wills. This is the meaning of Yikra Havaya Havaya. The first Havaya calls forth and draws down the second Havaya so that the Yud Gimel Mechilin, the Rachmei, become emanated and revealed, the sources of all existence and all Ishtalshlos. The first Havaya is far above even the level called Kodesh. It is called Raivid Deraiv, the will of all wills. Through Torah and mitzvah is done in the way we described, in bittul and attachment. In truth, there is drawn down that Kodesh. Kodesh Lamed Lamata Havaya Lamayla. The lower level is the Sirus L'Sata. Kaddish, lower level is the Sirus L'Sata. And the Havaya above is the Sirus L'Ela. Because when a person engages in Torah, which is his wisdom and his will, then Kamayim upon him and the lower spirit draws down the higher spirit, the supernal will, the From that comes the revelation of Ru'usat Liba, the inner will of the heart, and the light of supernal love in the soul without any separating wall or barrier, until that revelation shines al Metzach Aran as well. To understand the inyan of Metzach in the physical body, there are three cavities in the skull. Chachma Bina Das. Then there is the skull itself, the galgalta that covers over the brain. So to spiritually, the meichin are chachma bina das. Das is the power that binds chachma and bina firmly, so that once a person has understood and grasped the greatness of Ein Sof Baruch Hu, his soul becomes bound to Hashem alone. In the meichin of Chabad, there is revelation of Ein Sof. There is a revelation of Ein Sof through contemplation, in the order of prayer, in thinking about Baruch Shem V'Haya Ilam, Yachid, and so on. Through Das, this becomes connection, intense yearning, and delight. But there is also the Galgalta, the Chafya al Moiche, the skull that covers the brain. Corresponding to Das is the Metzach, the forehead, which covers over the Das and conceals its revealed connection. That is why, after a prayer, the fiery love passes. One must pray again every day to awaken the love anew. As it says, Chazal say, the love must be renewed daily because he renews creation every day. Now, once a person leaves prayer and turns to his vineyard, to his affairs, there is danger that he may be drawn after worldly pleasures, which are expansions of the yesh, as it says, Hashem kol gval leiv. Even in outer matters like clothing and conduct, Chazal say, Ein ani v'hu yechelem loder ka'achas. When a person is immersed in materiality, Ein das lekebaris, there is no das lekim there. That is true in the mode of Mazalus, whose whole identity is bound up with worldly matters. But a Jew can follow the advice of Chazal, let your work be temporary and secondary, even if you must engage in it, so do so with your inner coldness, as if compelled. That is Vayal Metzach Aran. Even after prayer, when the revealed love is past, there remains a Shimu on the Metzach, the outer covering of Das. That means a simple, steady rotten to cleave to him without the deep contemplation of prayer, but a settled agreement in the heart that remains from what was firmly resolved during prayer. Even though the intense delight and passion fade, the imprint remains, a rotten and chaskam of the heart to cling to him to make work secondary and Torah primary. That rotten can remain tamid, and that is Vayal Mitzchay Tamid Lahem Lifnei Havaya. Through this constant this steady will, there is aroused the awakening, the supernal Ratzon Raivid, and the revelation of Havaya as the source of the Yud Gimel Midas Rachamim. From there comes Nosi Oven, the Yud Gimel Midas Rachamim, Racham Machan, and Nosi Oven are drawn down from that supernal will. when this Ratan shines, even on the Metzach Ada, not only in the depths of Chabad during prayer, but as a steady Ratan all day, then it carries and transforms the Avena Kachim, the Zela Umazah of the Metzach of a Zoina. But if the revelation remains only at Chabad, only during the time of prayer and contemplation, not throughout the day, then it does not reach that level of Tamid. Maimer 4, Biur al Hanal. The Tlas Chalolin de Galgalta, as brought in Zohar Veschanan, are the three Meichen, Chachma, Bina, and Das. On each physical part of the brain rests the light of intellect that belongs to that faculty. Just as it is below in the human being in the physical brain, so it is above in Zah. The Meichen are Chabad de Zah, and the light clothed within them comes from Chabad, the Ima of Bina. Over the Meichen there is the Galgalta, the skull that surrounds and covers them. At the end of the skull is the Metzach, the forehead. The Metzach corresponds to Mayach Hadas. Chachma Bina are in the front. Das stands between them, more inward, binding them together. Therefore, its external counterpart is the Metzach. Das is the inner connection. Whatever is concluded in Chachma or Bina becomes fixed and sustained through Das. Corresponding to that inner power, there is the Metzach, an outer parallel, the agreement, the settled resolve to carry out what the intellect decided. It is the Rishimu that remains after the light of the Meichen departs. While Chachma and Bina shine strongly, Das binds and internalizes them. Afterward, what remains outwardly is the Metzach, a steady constant. Aaron is one of the Shiva Reim, drawing down Ru'usa Deliba, but in truth, that fiery love passes, a Mechita Barzel intervenes. Only sometimes, Meitzitz Menacharakim, flashes of tshuva, openings in the wall. Sometimes it is like this, sometimes like that. The counsel for it to be al mitzchay tamid, constant, is through Moshe, Bechar lanu anashim, Tetzaveh lanu Moshe. The opposing force, the iron wall, is Amalek, im tagbia Kanesha, brazenness, arrogance, stubbornness, cold defiance. Amalek knows his master and intends to rebel. He is the klippa opposite Das, preventing Das from spreading into the midas through sheer chutzpah without reason. What breaks that is Moshe, utter bittul, and Torah is learned in that bittul. Not only ala Torah, but Torah is Moshe, Torah in the mode of self-nullification. Do not make a chol in empty space. He remains unchanged through thought, Though thought and speech seem like something, the bittul lies in Chachmat HaTartash Balpeh, which is Malchus de Yitzira Atek L'Asiya, Chachma de Nukva D'Asiya. The Torah before us, the Kol below, carries that bittul. That is V'asisa Tzitz. Tzitz in masculine form, in illumination drawn from above downward. In contrast, Tzitzis is feminine from below upward in Tefillah. Tzitzis is, Torah is from above to below. It is the opposite of Amalek. Through it, there is drawn down a relation of Yudke into Vavke, into Abba V'Yira. That is why Moshe makes the tzitz. The tzitz is drawn from Meichen de Abba, that is Moshe, and even higher from Mitzcha de Arachanpin, where Das Elyon shines. Moshe, whose root is in Das Elyon, nullifies Amalek, who stands only against Das Tachten. And even higher, the Shema shining in Mitzcha de Ak v'nachnuma, that is the total bittul that uproots Amalek. Therefore, specifically, Moshe is commanded v'yosisa tzitz in illumination in the Metzach and Das Elyon beyond comprehension. Zov, Ter, gold, fiery, rishpeyesh, unlike kesef, love like water. Ufitachta alav ptוחי חותם. These are the oisiyas, the bina yesoideima, where letters take form. Chachma is like lightning, no shape. In bina there is form, letters, articulation. Adaisa mechachma nafkas, but it is clothed in bina. Today and day, these letters are like a chesam engraved in wax. The name impressed there is not the person himself, yet it is his mark. So to chachma itself is considered a seer relative to HaKadosh Baruch Hu kulam b'chachma sisa. Therefore, Torah is called chesam. It is the imprint of an infinite wisdom within form. Kodesh lahavaya. Chazal say kodesh, the lamed below, and the Kodesh Lam below, and Havaya above. Through Torah there is a Pimbi V'Seiros Chabasach Me'ai. Through mitzvahs there are Asher Kedushanim b'mitzvahs of Kodesh. There are Makifim Asher Kedushanim b'mitzvahs of Kodesh means set apart, transcendent. Makif. The Lamed alludes to the three Makifim of Kesach Chacham Bina, as in Salam Alikim. Yet all this, the Erpnimi and the Makifim drawn through us, so the Lasata is still called Lamata compared to Havaya above, for there are two Havayas, Havaya, with a pause between them, the Havaya of Atzilus, whose Yod, and Keitosho Yod hint to Keser and Chachma, and a higher Havaya, the source of the very will for Atzilus to be. Keser Datzilas is Keitish Yod, but the will behind that will is Raivid Choraivin Atik, Vayikra Havaya Havaya, the lower Havaya calls for the higher. This level is beyond the reach of Esirus Lasata. Therefore, Kodesh Lamed is called lower relative to this Shem Havaya. Hence, by the tzitz, it says L'rata Lifnei Hashem, before the Havaya of Atzilus, or before in the sense of Pnimius. So, to when a person's Avodas Hashem in Mitcha, the outer Ratzin, without reason, the imprint remaining after Tefillah, there can be Tamid, even when not contemplating, even engaged in worldly matters. It is Toirosei His inner orientation is steady. All his affairs are directed towards serving Hashem. That steady Ratzin is Tamid L'Ratzin. This comes through Moshe, who makes the tzitz, drawing from Raivid into Mitzchah, corresponding to Das. In every soul there is a spark of Moshe, but Metzach Aaron is Avarabba, and on his Metzach, the outward constant flow from love, the tzitz must rest, that it be tamid without fluctuation. Moshe himself does not require this, for he is pnimius hadas, not merely outer ratzin, but chayfetz, which is higher than ratzin. The tzitz also stands opposite a malach, who too has a metzach isha zayin, brazenness of yeshus. The tzitz from Moshe nullifies that. V'nos Aaron esaven akotchim. This is noisei oven from the Yud Gimel Mechil Merachami, the light of the second Havaya becoming Keil Racham Lechanan. The second Havaya corresponds to Peyes Hareish, the first Havaya to Tikunei Hareish. Like the tzitz on the Metzach as a Tikun Hareish, through Havaya they are drawn the Yud Gimel Midas Racham, and from them Atzilas, Esesfidas, Abba Yenik Mimazel, all this is drawn through the tzitz, which draws from Raiv the Chol Raiv and Kesser Bekesser, Stim the Chol Stimen. Hosapa Tetzaveh. Lahavin Shirashe Hadvaram Hanal Al Pasuk Vata Tetzaveh has been installed to understand the root of everything said above on Vata Tetzaveh has been in Yisrael. The root of Aaron, who is called Sheshvina de Matronisa, is the elevation of the Rapachni Tutzitz. Aaron is the one who raises them. That is the meaning of Bahaloischa Esaneris, and the lamps are mitzvahs, as it says, Kiner mitzvah. It says Michutz laparechas, or Eidos Yarachos Aaron laparechas. Mechutz means outside the parsha that separates Atzilos from Biyah. The Targum translates Parechas as pargud, a curtain, a screen. This parsha is the level of Shem Elikim, the concealing name, as it says, Kishem Shemagan Havaya Elikim. Just as his shield covers the sun, so Elikim conceals Havaya. It is like a screen that hides the light. This is the meaning of what Chazal say, that in the future Hashem will remove the sun from its covering, meaning that Vahaya Havaya Lila Elikim, that then the concealment itself will become revelation. Aaron's task is to raise the Nitzitas from Biyah to Atzilus. That is why it says Michutz laparechas yarech. He arranges the lamps outside the curtain, meaning in the world of separation, and then elevates them upward. Why is he called Sheshvina? That term seems to apply only to a wedding, something occasional, whereas the lighting of the menorah was every day. But the meaning is that every true renewal brings joy. A wedding is joyous because it is something new. So even though the lighting happened daily, each day there was a new elevation of the Rapachni Tzotzes. Every day the Malchus of Atzilus, we're talking about it, Laila Batit and Teref, gathers and refines. Teref hints to Rapach. And then Aaron the Sheshvina raises the Malchus to Matronisa together with all the sparks she has gathered. The menorah's lamps include all these elevations. From that renewal, joy floats above. That joy in Atzilus is rooted in Hey Gevuras de Ima, as it says, Eim Havan B'Samecha. Eira corresponds to Abba, and Simcha corresponds, and Simcha to Ima. Together they are Abba v'Ima Trein Rein. The joy of a mitzvah is rooted in Bina even higher than the level called Kol, which refers to Yesod. Kol receives the 50 gates of Bina only as an imprint, like a seal, but the joy of a mitzvah comes from the Pnimius of Bina itself, higher than Rev Kol. That is why it says, made Rev Kol beyond the level of Kol. Now Chazal says, there is no reward for a mitzvah in this world. Why? Because the root of mitzvahs is in Galgalta the Arachanpin, in the 13 paths. The shidus of the skull correspond to the letters of Torah. Just as speech letters channel the intellect, so the hairs channel the light of the Mechin. From the Mechin, the life force travels through the hollow of each hair, just as intellect emerges through speech. But the white brightness of the schol, Chavart, the Gagalta, is above the hairs. The hairs grow from it and are nourished by it. Letters of Torah are like hairs, channels, and garments for the light. The mitzvahs themselves correspond to the whiteness, the essential paths. Archen, as it says, Kol Arches Havaya. That is why the Torah explains the mitzvahs, describing the Chesed, the Ephod, and so on. The letters of Torah are the explanations, the garment. The mitzvah itself is the essence, because the essence of mitzvahs is rooted in that whiteness of Galgalta de Arachanpin. It cannot be revealed in this world. Only a great contraction through the letters of Torah allows measured light to shine, but the essence itself remains makaf. Therefore, is mitzvah. However, a small glimmer, a faint taste, shines every Shabbos morning in the 12 loaves called Sudasa de Atika. There, a taste of that inner light from the whiteness of Atik becomes revealed. Base. Aaron was one of the 7 shepherds. A shepherd, in the simple sense, feeds and sustains his flock, but the food is not his own. He brings them grass from the field. So too above, Aaron, the Kohen Gadol, draws down Avarabba and also Avazuta. He is called Har, Chazal say, not like Avram, who called it a mountain. And the letters Har are contained in the name Aaron. The Aleph in his name alludes to the drawing down from Chavarta de Gagalta de Arachanpin, called Aluv Shel Olam. From there he extends downward all the way to Malchus Natzilas. That is the final nun of Aaron, the nun pshuta that stretches downward to the lowest levels. The nourishment itself is not from him. He brings light and flow from that level of Chavarta down to illuminate Knesset Yisrael. That is the meaning of Bahal Loischas and Eris. The mitzvahs are called lamps, as it says Kiner Mitzvah, and he would kindle within them the light and vitality that comes from the root of the mitzvahs above. True is Char Mitzvah B'Ha'amaleka, not in the sense of physical reward, but an avoid illumination of the mitzvahs does shine even now. Through Aaron, the shepherd who feeds and sustains, that light is revealed, and this is the root of the joy of a mitzvah, as it says, Tachas v'ata b'simcha v'levav meidav kol. This joy is the revelation of light from the chavarta, the pnimius of the supernal light. The place of its revelation is in pnimius abina, as it says, Eim abam samecha. Why is there joy? Because every day there is a renewal in the elevation of the Rapach. It is like the burning away of the wick when Aaron lights the lamps every evening. There are 2 stages here. First, the elevation, which is what it means when it says outside the parasha, bringing the bidurim of Rapach from Biyah up to Atzilus. Then once they reach Atzilus, where Aaron called Kahana Rabba, rooted in Chesed Atzilus, which itself stems from the hidden level of Chavarta, the source of the very bodies that the mitzvahs draws down. The second stage is the revelation, the joy of a mitzvah. That is why he is called Shishvina, like Shishvina, who can bring the bride before the groom because of his closeness to the groom, just as one close to a king can bring another into the royal chamber. One who is embarrassed or afraid to enter needs help, but the king's confidant, who confidently enters without shame, can bring others in. So to Aaron, Kanad rooted in Chesed, the Atik Yemen, through though he descends from Atzilus into Biyah to elevate the sparks in Malchus called Matronisa, he has the ability to raise them upward to the Matil and to draw down from there the illumination that becomes the joy of mitzvah. And in the matter of love as well, he arouses love in Knesset Yisrael so they can ascend. That is Bahalizcha. He elevates them. He draws down Avarabba into Knesset Yisrael from the whiteness above. For that reason, he is called Aaron. He is specifically Shishvina de Matronisa. His root is in Netzach da Abba, which itself is rooted in Chesed da Atik Yemen, where Abba is bound, and from there comes his power to elevate and draw down, to bring sparks upward and joy downward, and to kindle within the souls the living flame of supernal love. When Aaron would prepare the lamps, it was always with oil and a wick. The oil represents Chachma, just as oil is quiet and hidden, so Chachma is the quality of Bittul. To understand this, you first have to recall what happened in the Shviras HaKelim of the 7 primordial kings. As it says again and again, the breaking was only in the Zayin Tachtainim, not in the Gemodation. In the Gemodation, there was no breaking at all. So it says, Yamusu v'loi b'chachma, there is no fall and no death in Chachma. The first point of shattering was the first king, Bela, corresponding to Das. After that came the other Midas, Chesed, Gvur, Teferes, and so on. The name Bela hints to what it does, like V'tivlano Sheva Paris. Harais, it swallows up the Das of Kedusha into the Eitza Das Teveran, the Klippas Nega, called Mashka de Chivya. It covers and hides holy Das. That is why it says, Lo Yadati Asavaya, and Yisrael Lo Yoda Ami Lo Izbainon. Lack of Das comes from that breaking. But since in Chachma itself there was no breaking at all, the ray of Chachma that shines even into the lower Midas is also not subject to real breaking. There is Chachma within Chesed, there is Chachma within Gvura, and so on. And that inner Chachma never fell. On the contrary about it, we say that Chachma itself does not need life, it gives life, it revives what fell. That is the idea of Hevel de Garmei, mentioned in Eitz Chaim, the subtle residue of Chachma left within the broken vessels, enough to sustain them and eventually revive them in Tchias HaMesim. Within the Arbe Shemus Absag Man Ban, there remains a spark of Chachma that keeps the broken pieces alive, because Chachma never broke, its light can revive what did. That is why oil can be extracted from everything, even stone. As it says, Shemen Mechal Mishtzur, oil is Chachma. As it says, Kulam B'Chachma Asisa. Every created being contains a trace of Chachma, a point of bittul, which is what keeps it alive. Now we can understand the statement of Chazal: just as the olive causes one to forget 70 years of learning, so olive oil restores 70 years. Forgetfulness comes from the breaking. It is hesach hadas, loss of das, rooted in bella, the olive itself, bitter, connected with klippas noiga and mashka dechiv, stems from that broken realm, and therefore it causes forgetfulness. But when you crush the olive and extract the oil, that oil is chachma, the brain of memory. Eid abba, chachma is the opposite of forgetfulness because it never broke. The 70 years correspond to the zayin tachtenim included in 10, the realm where forgetting can happen, but chachma has the power to restore what was lost there. Now this explains the preparation of the lamps with oil and wick. The oil is that universal chachma present in all existence. Through it, everything can be revived from its fall, provided there is bittul. Because the root of breaking was the revelation of light into a sense of independent yesh, the repair is bittul yesh. Look at the oil in the lamp. The brilliance of the flame comes specifically from the oil. If the oil is clear, the flame is clear. If the oil is consumed and becomes fire, the oil is consumed and becomes fire. It is drawn into the wick and completely given over. Without oil, there is no shining light at all. The flame exists through the self-nullification of the oil. So to above, chachma is bittul hayesh le'ayin, and specifically through bittul hayesh, the ayin flows into the yesh. Yesh cannot come from yesh, it comes from ayin. Just as light comes from the consumption of oil, so illumination in the world comes from bittul. That is the root of Eidav Simcha. All of this is in the realm of Aaron through the revelation of the lamps, meaning the elevation through bittul of Chachma. The oil, he draws down light and joy from above through bittul Hayesh. Ta'ayin, Aaron Seif rests the Chachma, that is Eira, and from there it shines into Bina, into the Midas, into Malchus. That is the joy of Mitzvah, because it is known in Seif Sheda El Beruchinas bittul. The infinite rests only where there is bittul, which is Chachma, and when there is bittul, there is light. When there is light, there is joy. Dalet, and this is the deeper root of V'ikhu Hashem Zayzdach Chases Lamar. But first we have to understand who Moshe really is in this whole picture. Earlier we explained that Aaron is Sheshvini de Matronisa. He raises the feminine waters, the man from Bial up to Atzilus. That is the elevation from below to above. But Moshe is something else entirely. He is Sheshvini de Malka. He draws down the mad, the masculine flow that clarifies and rectifies the man. He represents the level of someone whose entire being is Torah. Misha Terasa Manasa, like a king who decrees. As Chazal say, Masnis and Malka. So when one speaks Torah, it is not just learning. It is v'dvari ashesanta b'ficha, my words in your mouth. That is the meaning of a Torah. Now, earlier we explained that in their root, the mitzvahs come from the whiteness of the skull, and Torah from the hairs, meaning the letters. So in their higher source, mitzvahs are higher. But when the light descends downward into revelation, the mitzvahs descend deeper into the worlds of Biyaor, whereas Torah remains more in the realm of light. Torah is the light of the candle, linear mitzvah. Because of that, Moshe is called Sheshvini de Malka, and Aaron only Sheshvini de Matronisa. That is also why by Aaron it does not say Lahalis Ner Tamid in Atzilus, there aren't real ups and downs the way there are in Biyah. There, the light is always in a state of elevation, but in Biyah there is concealment, there is parechas, there is time and change. So there it says, Mechutz la parechas or edas yarech, there is arranging, there is a process. Moshe is Chachma Datzilas. That is why he was Kvad Peh. Speech belongs below. He was rooted above, and that is why it says, "Ve'ata haker ve'lecha aris Aaron achicha." You must draw Aaron upward into your level, into Atzilas, to empower him. In every world, the level of Moshe stands above the parsha. That is why the command is "V'ikhu Eilicha Hashem Zayizach," specifically to you. Ve'ata refers to Chachma, to Moshe. To him they must bring the oil first, because all Biurim begin in Atzilus, and only then descend into Biyah. The power to clarify comes from Chachma Abba Yosef. Brata Abba establishes the daughter. From Chachma comes the power that enables Aaron to elevate the lamps. That is also why it says Me'ez B'nai Yisrael Chukas Elam. From Aleph to Tav, from the letters of Torah, comes the eternal decree to raise the lamps. Without Moshe, Aaron could not raise them. First, there must be the drawing down from above. Only then can there be elevation from below. Now, this also explains why the pasuk by Moshe says Lahalis Ner Tamid, while by Aaron it says Mi'arafat Beker. Elevation from Atzilus from Biyah to Atzilus is connected with Malchus, and Malchus is the root of time. Hashem Malach. Hashem Melech, Hashem Malach, Malach v'Yimlech, past, present, and future. Wherever there is revelation and expression, there is time. That is why time is rooted in the feminine aspect, but Atmas Alikos is above time entirely. Aaron, as Sheshvini de Matronisa, works within time, within the cycles of concealment and revelation. So by him it says Mi'aravat Baker, evening to morning, the full span of time corresponding to the permutations of day and night. By Moshe, called Dishalakim, stands above time, so by him it says Lahalis Ner Tamid, a constant, timeless elevation, because in his root there is no before and after, no fluctuations, there is only continuous light. Summary. Everything begins with the question, why does it say, V'ata Tetzaveh b'nei Yisrael v'yikhol Hashem azayizach, when at the end it is Aaron who lights the menorah, and why by Moshe it says, Lahalis ner tamid, but by Aaron only ma'adav bigger. The whole structure of the week revolves around two great movements, drawing down from above and elevating from below. Aaron is called Shishvini de Maternisa. He represents the elevation of the Apach and the the sparks that fell into Biyah. The mitzvahs are called Neris, as it says, Ki ner mitzvah. When Aaron raises the lamps, he raises those sparks from below the parechas, below the parses that separate the tzilas from Biyah, and bringing them upward into unity. That is why it says, Mechutz laparechas hayidus yarech. His work begins in concealment, in the realm of time, in the world of separation. From there he elevates. That elevation produces joy. Every beard is a renewal, a fresh union, like a wedding. That is why Aaron is called Shishvin. Not because he does something occasional, but because every day, every evening, the elevation of sparks is a new chasne, a new rejoicing. That joy that results is simcha shal mitzvah, which is revealed in bina emavam samecha. From the hidden whiteness of gagalta da'arachan, and from the inner delight comes the joy, light of joy that Aaron draws down into Knesset Yisrael. But elevation alone is not enough. Moshe Shishuni de Malki represents the drawing down from above the mad that clarifies and empowers the man. Torah is called the Torah Ohr, even though its root Torah comes from the hairs, the channels of expression, the mitzvahs from the inner whiteness. In the descent, Torah remains more directly light, while mitzvahs descend further into action. Therefore, Moshe stands higher than Aaron. Aaron can elevate only because Moshe first draws down. That is why it says Shem Zayizach. To use specifically Shem as Chachma, I'll be to begin Chachma in Chachma Datzilos, Abiyar Sabrata. From Chachma comes the power that enables Malchus to elevate sparks. Without Moshe's level of bittul and achnuma, there is no true conquest over Amalek, no breaking of the inner iron barrier. Amalek is the root of concealment, chutzpah yeshus, cold indifference that blocks the flow from Yud-K to Vav-K. The tzitz, Kedush Lahavaya, is made specifically by Moshe. It shines over the Metzach, the outer layer of Das, so that even after the inner fire of Tefillah fades, there remains a constant Ratzin v'yal mitchit hamad Ratzin through Torah, through bittul. The Ratzin Elyon, the Ivan is drawn down, and that cancels the separation and sweetens the judgment through the Yud Gimel Midas Rachman. Aaron elevated through love, through simcha, through bitter, through halas and edus. Moshe draws down through Torah, through bittul, through the light of chachma, through near halas and tamid. The garments of Aaron, the bigdi kodesh, represent the levushim of Ava. They are formed in three ways: from Moshe above shtarshlos, drawing down bracha; from chachma lev and bittul, drawing down chachma; and from klal yisrael and simple kabbalah, also drawing down malchus. Together they complete the garments that clothes supernal love. The oil itself, Shem and Zayas causes hints to this secret. The Zayas is the bitterness that causes shicha, the concealment rooted in shir sakelim, beginning with das the tayu. But when crushed, it releases oil chachma, which never shattered. Chachma revives, remembers, and restores, like oil fitting a flame. Bittul yesh draws ayin into yesh. Only through the burning wave, eagle does the Ohr shine steadily. Finally, the difference between Moshe and Aaron explains the difference between their Talmud and Me'arav Baker. Aaron works within time, Malchus, the cycles of concealment to revelation. Moshe stands above time, Mishalakim, and therefore his light is constant. First, break the Amalek within through Moshe's bittul and Torah, then elevate the sparks through Aaron's Ava and Simcha, draw down out and alien through Torah mitzvahs, clothe the soul in garments in love, let the lamp burn sometimes within time, sometimes above time, until the concealment itself becomes light.